Yeah. So to just catch the listeners up. So Jacquie and Alan, yeah, experienced just that one of those moments where, you hear of these things happening to other people, and you see headlines when things are going on the news, and it's this current reality for some people somewhere. In this instance, those fires in California in January directly affected Jacquie and Alan and a lot of their friends and people that they had led through cohort and done ministry with through this tragedy of losing their home, losing their possessions, and all of those things. And it was really, I mean, devastating to watch, witness, experience, knowing you guys, caring for you guys. And for every person that I talked to that was spared, there was someone who lost everything. The medley of hope versus hopelessness that kind of was transpiring during that time was just palpable to me. But just to catch the listeners up, like this is a reality. You've moved how many times in the last 4.5 months?
Four.
Moved four times. Okay,
yeah.
Once a month.
And we have one more final move, Lord willing, to get into a home that we've purchased. It might be a temporary home. I don't know. We're going to a home, so we're excited.
Yeah. Well, I think, we got to there from talking about freedom. And I think what a place that you can stand on from experience to offer to all of us, like what it looks like. We all think whether we know it or not, we collect things throughout our life. And I know nostalgia and hosting and special tables and artwork and glassy collections of things. And it's not there anymore. And so maybe help us, I'm picturing kind of scales, on one hand, there's all of this ministry and bringing people through your home and 900 plus individuals that are experiencing God in a new way as a result of just saying a simple first yes to attending a training, and then a second yes of, I think we could host something. And then to see how that spiraled into all of these blessings and questions and things that people have. And then on the other side, you have this, I have great need. And how have you seen kind of those scales? I don't know if they've ever felt out of balance, but what's it been like to be on like the just needing help side of things?
Yeah, this has been quite a year. Not only was January, we were so looking forward to 2025, 2024. In fact, about this time last year, Alan was diagnosed with bile duct cancer, and terrifying. And yet God's hand was in it from the very beginning. We found it in a fluke. He was not experiencing any symptoms or anything, and they were able to remove everything. He's clean. We had a 6-month scan just last month, and he's clean. I'm so grateful. But it was a whole walking experience in all that. And also had a dear friend, like one of my dearest friends, diagnosed with a pretty rare form of cancer, and been walking with her in that as well. And then turning the corner into 2025, and, January 8th changed the direction of that year as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this has been my neediest year of my entire life. And I don't know, perhaps some of our the listeners feel like me. I love to give. I love to host. I love to serve. I love to bring meals to people. I love to bring gifts to people and think all that. And it has been a role reversal for me, and wildly humbling. Not quite sure how to handle it sometimes, to be truly honest. And yet I have seen the kindness of God more than I ever have in my entire life in this year, because of his people, because of our community, because of our church, because of random strangers. Like, just receiving that has just really opened my eyes to seeing God in a whole different way. Mm-hmm. And being taken care of, even going back to one of my lies, I better take care of myself because nobody else is going to. Well, God said, yeah, I'm gonna. And he has shown up over and over and over again in this devastating journey of cancer and fire. And I just want to tell people, if you think about doing something for somebody, it actually means a lot.
Yeah.
And don't
Yeah.
not do it. And
Yeah.
don't just say, if there's anything I can do, because that adds burden, but actually do it. Take a meal to somebody, show up and just sit
Yeah.
with them and cry with them.
Yeah.
I'm learning some things feel better than other things. And
Hmm.
so just encouraging people to, if God prompts you to do something, do it, because it says a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Maybe Jacquie, could you offer, and I've heard a few stories from you and maybe one, and I'm thinking, there was a story about a piece of jewelry, right?
Mm, yeah.
From that might be a meaningful, just to, I mean, bring a listener into just kind of like the reality of what your, the pendulum that's swinging between, like, it doesn't matter, but it does matter too. And in Lord, would you help? Would you, man, I get emotional just thinking about it. Would you share, I mean, maybe that story, or maybe another one of just sort of like God's goodness and kindness in this season?
Yeah. So in the fire, we got some things out, and I wasn't up there. We only had about, or I should say, Alan and my daughter and son in law, they only had about 40 minutes to get stuff out. And my jewelry was kind of hidden. And so it wasn't on the forefront as you're running through a house looking for
Which
stuff.
is a good idea.
Right. It is
For
a good
those of
idea.
you who like put your jewelry on the kitchen table, like maybe that's not the best place to have it in your home.
Correct. And I mean, I didn't have tons of jewelry, but I had some meaningful jewelry that, Alan had given me over the years, stuff from my mom and dad, stuff from his mom who had passed away. And so most of them were not super expensive pieces or anything like that, but just they were heart things for me. So anyways, we didn't get any of that. And I did have this little bowl of just my everyday things that I just wear all the time. And so I had that with me on a little trip we were taking. And so anyways, when everything was gone, we had some firemen that were willing to sift through all of our ashes for us, which I just got to hand it to the firemen. I mean, these guys were working 7 or I don't know how many days a week, but then on their days off, they would go sift through people's ashes. These men, I'm so grateful for. But sadly, they found remnants of jewelry. We have a little funky gold nuggety type thing. So we knew where they were, but none of it survived. And I had been praying, like, Lord, if you could just give me one of these earrings. I don't care for the pair, just one. I just want one. And sadly, that didn't happen. So I was like, all right, okay, thanks, Lord. But no thanks. And
Yeah.
kind of feeling a little pity party for myself that day. But then 2 days later, a friend sent me a picture, and she had no idea. She's like, look at this, look how young we were. And my earrings were on me in the picture. And I'm like, okay, Lord, thank you. I can have these remade. And that was my gift. So I was satisfied and grateful, repented of my pity party, and was moving on. But then this was 2 days later. I go to look for some earrings in my little bowl, and I dump it all out because I couldn't find one. And Tim, the earrings were in the bowl. I
Wow.
was screaming and yelling and jumping. Poor Alan thought I was going berserk or whatever. I don't know. He was worried. But I don't know if God blinded my eyes to them when I first looked through them, or if he put them there. Either way, for me, it was miraculous. And it was just this act of God that allowed me to see that I am seen, I am known, I am loved. He cares about even silly little things like a pair of earrings that are so meaningful to me. It just, I go back to that often. I keep a little, well, I kept a little package of just pictures of things where God has shown up. And sadly, that didn't make it out of the fire. But I have a list of them in my phone, and I'll be redoing those. And I can guarantee you that those earrings will be one of the pictures in there of just God's grace and his kindness. And he shows up in ways that we don't expect. And I kind of feel like I got a miracle, and I'm really
Wow.
grateful.
That is amazing. As I wipe the tears from my eyes, literally, Yeah, I think for each of us, for each person listening to this, like the story of God is the hyper personal moments where he cares about a really small thing, small but big, right? It's the like, do you care about even this, and I just want to encourage listeners to just consider, even as Jackie's sort of prompting, like writing some of those things down. I have a little prayer journal where I've written things like this down, and it is so helpful because there's hard days, right? There are days where where it's hard to remember. And when we categorize these things and when we put things down and we can place ourselves in that moment in time where, I'm sure Jacquie can picture dumping the bowl out and the little glory dance that probably followed. And I can't believe it. And I love to dissect those little moments because it was like, was God taking care of me the last time that I filled this jar up and put some things where they actually didn't belong because he knew that I'd be blessed in this moment? Or as Jacquie said, it's like, or did he place them supernaturally in this bowl as an answer to my prayer? Or, did he send an angel into the fire to sift these things out before the firemen could get, it's so fun to hypothesize on how God did that miracle. And so I find that amazing.